Wrestlecade, happy Friday. It's hot off the road, man. I feel like I'm making sounds like Ricky Morton today. Just got off the road, literally jumped out at the parking garage and came here to be with you guys. And I'm as excited as you are probably to be a part of Wrestlecade again this year. How many folks have been to Wrestlecade before? Yeah, all right, okay, plenty of you have, and you know what a treat you're in for. My name's Adam Harris. I represent the House of Kayfabe. We're here to present a couple of podcast interviews for you guys this evening. I represent Matt Mullins, who's part of our team, and also the other Steve Barker, is going to be with us this evening. And after a while, I think we're going to meet Stephen P. New, who's the man we're all riding the coattails of here on the House of Kayfabe. I hope you'll check us out on YouTube. You guys need to be sure to give us a like and subscribe. We're going to be around all weekend. We have a bunch of people at the table with us, along with All-Star Wrestling. A ton of great names on site this weekend. But we've been keeping this group waiting long enough. I think it's time to get things started. And we're going to meet our host. I like to call him the landlord of the House of Kayfabe. Let's make him welcome. This is Brian Resner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam Harris. How's everybody doing? Are you guys wrestling fans, by chance? Because I know we are. And I tell you, you're going to get to see the funniest thing at Wrestlecade is my big ass trying to fit in that little chair. That's what we're going for, the funniest thing ever. So we've got a lot for you today. After this podcast, we're going into franchise with Shane Douglas, which I'm all dressed for, ready for, with the yellow and black. And we've got a lot that we're going to go over and just kick off your Wrestlecade weekend. So are you guys ready for our guests? I don't think that was loud enough. I'm trying to get into Wrestlecade mode. Are you guys ready for our guests? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the House of Kayfabe live show, the duo. That's right, father and son, two generations of rock and roll, Mr. Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton. All right, we got the Mortons here. Now, I will tell you, this chair here is empty. This chair is empty because Stephen P. New is missing. Yeah, I don't know. We've called it. Ricky's called it. I called it. We can't find him.
You know, during my 40 years in this business, I went missing a couple of times.
Yeah, we know Ricky.
I'm not saying nothing bad about it.
Well, Stephen Barker, come up here and join us because Stephen P. New's here. We're going to have the other Steve. Come on, other Steve. Can you get Steve a microphone for us?
What's your name again? I'm nobody here.
All right, now Ricky's been a part of our podcast before. He's told a lot of great stories, some which I think some kids don't need to hear today. But we are going to get into the thing, and one of the stories that really stands out to me as one of the best stories that I've ever heard you tell is the run with Flair when you almost won the NWA World Title. Can we start there? Is that okay with you?
You know, I'm not jumping from limb to limb,
Okay.
but I will get into that.
All right. Well, where do you want to start?
Just sort of, other day, a guy asked me, he said, tell me some of the craziest thing that might have happened to you in this business. Now, you got to bear with me on this, okay? You know, back in the early 90s and stuff, you know, you could buy a car for $400 or $500 easily. And the reason why is My wife and I were going to Richmond, Virginia with one of my sons, Kelly, and we had a car wreck. Totaled the car out. And the guy that was in the wreck behind us, he took us to the show. But when I got there, Robert had flew in and got a rental car. And I needed, I got to get home. And the next day I told Robert, I said, man, take me around somewhere. I got to find me a car. $400 or $500 in somebody's front yard. And sure enough, I did. I found it was called a Ford Fury or something, just a little bitty car. I mean, you couldn't even turn around in it. So I bought it, and Robert told my wife to take that rental car, and me and him took that car to go to the town in. And when I'm driving it, all of a sudden, we're on the interstate, and none of the fuses were all wrong, none of the cages worked. I thought they had a full tank of gas, and I was lucky, giving $500 for it, and then getting a tank of gas. And I know this story's going on, but you got to understand, and we pull off beside the interstate, and I can see way over this field, I can see a gas station over there, but the exit's a mile up. And on this right here, on this fence, it says, no trespassing, keep out, no trespassing. So Robert said, let's walk. I said, I'm not walking over. I'm going to climb this fence right here. And then I really realized why they had all the things up there, because we're walking it. And I'm a country guy. And I know where I come from. You ever seen a big old hole in the ground? It's called a whale. I call it a whale. And then big, you couldn't even see it. And I walked up here, and Robert looked at that. And I'm looking off in there, and I said, dang, no wonder they got this size. I said, you fall up on there, you be on unsolved mysteries. I'm not kidding. So I picked the rock up and threw it, and I didn't hear nothing. I said, wow, man, that's crazy. No wonder. So me and Robert both picked this big old rock up and threw it off in there, and still couldn't hear the bottom. So, wow, man, I just really amazed me. And all of a sudden, here comes Robert with a big old cedar post. And he threw it off in there, and I'm standing there watching. I grabbed Robert by the arm, I pull it back, and a goat had his head down, chasing Robert. And he ran right off in that hole. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. And sure enough, I heard a voice, hey, boy, what y'all doing out here? Oh my God, I turned around and said, guys, you gotta be kidding me. I said, sir, my car ran out of gas. He said, yeah, but you see these signs and nobody come over here and you fall off in there, blah, blah, blah. He growled at me for about 15 minutes. And I said, well, I'm just going to go get some gas. So I got to walking all the way. By the way, have y'all seen my goat? Seen the goat? I said, yes, sir, I sure did. And the goat ran off in that hole. He looked at me. He said, really, where's my goat at? I said, buddy, your goat ran off in that hole. He said, well, it can't be my goat. And I said, why? He said, he's tied to a cedar post.
He's the easiest man on earth to interview. I asked him about Ric Flair, and we heard about goat and Florida as well. He's Ricky Morton. My goodness. Kerry, can you tell us a goat story too?
I can't do anything compared to that story necessarily, but I do have a funny story that might be semi-embarrassing. But at the time, I'm a little boy. We're making sounds with my dad in the car, and the late great beautiful Bobby Eaton's in the passenger seat. And Bobby lived with us at the time, so we would always make these towns. Vice versa, and I was a little boy in the back seat. And I remember there's this real pretty girl. We stopped at a McDonald's, and Bobby grabbed my attention. He said, hold up, look at her in the back. She's pretty. She said, he's grabbed my attention, and Bobby, we're all laughing, and I happened to, he happened to, bite his tongue on her. I was like, you should go talk to her. And I'm a little boy, mind you, in the back seat of the car. So how the story gets going is, Bobby, he starts embarrassing me a little. He he's getting her attention. He's honking the horn in the car while Dad's inside ordering some food from McDonald's. And all of a sudden, she happens to bend down, and bless this girl's heart, her whole entire jeans fell all the way down to her ankles, and Bobby's flipping out. Oh my gosh, you gotta see it! You gotta see it! I'm a little boy at the time, and I'm screaming in embarrassment. And then all of a sudden it gets better. Ricky is coming out of the McDonald's. And it's kind of like the Three Stooges scenario. As he comes out of the McDonald's, he hits his head on the glass, opening the door. Bam! He opens the door and he turns around and he bumps into this girl that happened to fall down, and her shirt happened to fall down with her. So they take a big bump in the McDonald's parking lot, and all of a sudden everybody's getting their phones out, starts recording everything. To make something short, you guys have to go on YouTube and make something of this scenario. We weren't there. That's how the scenario went. We weren't there, so.
Hey, if you guys get a chance, I know, where's Lester at? Is he in here? Is he gone?
Back here.
Oh, there you are. If you guys stop by and see him, he has a picture of me, Bobby Eaton, and himself, and Kerry as a little bitty kid. He just showed that to me. I was asking about college earlier, and showed it, and he had a picture of it. That's very cool. Thank you, Lester. Get a chance to look at it. It's a really cool picture. All right, now we're going to go to Ric Flair, right?
That was the story. Well, I guess we could go to Ric Flair now. I know the story that you had told on the podcast before definitely got a lot of views. A lot of people talking about that story. So we want to hear how that all went down, because you were not a singles competitor at this time. You're not a singles competitor. No one expects you to go and win the world title, but you got pretty close.
Well, you know, and I always tell guys in this business, especially younger guys in the business, you know, you got to be at the right place at the right time. It's always like that. I tell us that if you're trying to get a job promotion, you got to call them every day. You know, all they can do is tell you no every day. But being at the right place at the right time, it was a time when Magnum TA, they were grooming Terry Allen of Magnum TA to be the world champion. And they were, and unfortunately Terry had a car wreck and he got paralyzed. Well, all those things, it just, they had nothing. And sometimes it's hard for me to explain to get to what I'm saying, especially I'm going to stand up. Any of you guys in here wrestle? To try, okay, and understand that nowadays you have writers that do everything for you, tell you how to walk to a ring, tell you what you do when you get in the ring. In this certain situation, Robert, he got hurt, and he went there that night. That's when Magnum was doing TV, a matter of fact, in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I have a friend from Rock Hill, South Carolina, somewhere in here. But I was in a single match, and Ric Flair seen that. And it really, he said, oh my God, he's did it. So they talked, and we did the thing, just been at the right place at the right time. I say this all the time in my life. Ric Flair is the greatest world champion ever. And the reason why he's the greatest world champion is because every time you paid to see him, he made that gum sure you got your money's worth.
Yes.
And if I didn't go an hour with him, we went 55 minutes, 56 minutes every night. But to get in there, and I wanted to say this is cool because our days and wrestling days now is kind of, people don't understand our business. And that's what's wrong with it. To me, I think anyway. You know, I watch some of the wrestling matches and I think I'm watching the circus. People just jumping, flipping, going everywhere. But you see, to be able to tell that story in a match, and that's when I was there and I learned from the best. You know, especially, and all y'all know, to wrestle Ric Flair in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I walk out, I'm wrestling Rick. I'm everything but Ricky Morton. They didn't like me. You know, Ric Flair was the man. But you got to see in 10 minutes in that match, Rick returned the whole crowd. Just that quick. And see, that's because he understood our business and knew it. But I got to wrestle Rick, you know, like you were saying, man, I had a run with him, but I made a promise to somebody a long time ago. And that was to my wrestling partner. I made a promise to him. And not only through that, not only to Rick, but in our business. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I just want you fans to understand. They wanted to put the world title on me, in which I beat Ric Flair. Anybody here from Richmond, Virginia? Are you? Okay, at the Coliseum. I beat Rick for the world title. And then when I came back in our business, and I'm not here to insult anybody's intelligence. Our business is hard. We know what we're doing, but it's hard. And you get hurt. Some of the careers of these guys don't even last long. And another thing that's why is because they don't understand the business. And it's not about the company or it's not about us, it's about them. If they hurt you, they really don't care. But at that time, they come to me and they wanted me to change everything. They didn't want me to be the Rock and Roll Express no more. And I actually gave the belt back. I said, I don't want it. I want to do what I do. And that's the reason that happened. And it's not saying nothing. It's just a different time, different place. A lot more controlling. It's even like territory, as you know, because Crockett was territory wrestling. And you only had one person. And that's the reason I love territory wrestling. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to educate y'all to a lot of stuff that you might not even know about our business. Because when you went to a territory, the owner was the top good guy, or the booker was. And I promise you wasn't going to get over them. As being a young baby face in our business, I had about as much chance as a snowball in hell, when I'm not kidding. But I waited to the right time and the right place. Bill Watts was retired. Let me tell you now, this is how our business, Bill Watts retired, and he was looking for really young guys that they hadn't seen before. All the wrestlers were 500 pounds and never went to the gym. So we go there, and when we get to Louisiana, I want you to understand this. The top baby face in there, the top good guy, was Abdullah the Butcher. Now, would you know why? Because this is how territories worked. Bill Watts had just beat Abdullah in their blow-off match. So he had to turn Abdullah babyface to bring the next heel in to beat Abdullah for Bill Watts could wrestle him. That's the way it worked. But being at the right place at the right time, all of a sudden you see these young guys coming in. At that time, they shot them MTV videos on us and come in, and it was just being at the right place that changed the whole time of wrestling. And I know that ain't the question you asked me, but I answered about 400 of them. You did. So hopefully we going here. And this is what I try to do in my business. I have a wrestling school called the School of Morton. It's up in Chunky, Tennessee. When you come to my school, I try to understand you. I don't have time to teach you a hell of a lot. You hear me? Let somebody else teach you a hell of a lot. I teach you how to work. I teach you how to understand our business and to see and lay it out and tell that story to make your match interesting. It's not like you see the same 8 matches, and Robert and I are still very, very active in our career. But you see, we go to these shows and I tell them all. I said, I like to go on before intermission. When you're the main event, I said, no, I don't want to be main event. Because the time I go out there to wrestle, they done shot Igor of the cannon. And he kicked out to, certain meeting. I like going early. We do our stuff. The people with us and they enjoy it because the time we go on, they are tired of the show. And I'm telling you, it's a fact. It's been way too long. And I've seen everything 45 times. And to do that. Now, I know, all right, y'all get the hook. Put me off here now. But thank you. I like to stand up when I talk.
It's fine. You can stand up anytime you want to, so you heard that right. It makes me think of the what ifs. It's like, what if Ricky would have said no and would have had a run with the NWA World Title and would have had that feud with Flair afterwards? It's like so many what would have happened. However, a lesser man would not have handed that NWA title back and stayed true to his partner. So let's give it up for Ricky. You have a question for Mr. Morton. Go ahead.
I have something I think that actually goes to your point where how modern day wrestling. I'm the other Steve, by the way. I'm here until Steve P. New gets here. So we'll play his theme music and he'll come up here. But I think it goes to what you were just talking about earlier. I'm 45, so I grew up watching you at 6:05 on TBS, right? And today I'm probably.
And you were 7 years old.
I was 12. I was 12. Probably on Wednesday, we probably saw 14 attacks in the backstage. And I will never forget, because you didn't see this stuff back then. If you're old enough to remember 6:05, you didn't see attacks in the backstage. And do you remember when the Four Horsemen attacked you and Robin backstage and they just smeared your face on the concrete and bloodied you up? And it was so impactful because we'd never seen it before. We'd never seen, it was kind of shaky camera, they didn't have it wasn't well lit. It looked real. Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, I remember. But that didn't happen. That was just a tape they showed on TBS. That happened in Greensboro Coliseum. I beat Ric Flair in a match that night. Myself, Dusty, and Robert against the Four Horsemen. And I beat Rick, and they got Rick. And they came back in the dressing room, and Rick read my face across the thing in the floor. And that was great. Something I was going to say earlier, things like that happened. We didn't have writers. You guys remember when I slapped Ric Flair on TBS? He betrayed him, broth. All that happened right then. That was not laid out in the back. That happened right then. And that's some of the greater moments in our business. It's because you can see through it if it's late. And I'm standing there on TV and Rick's doing this, and sometimes I don't like to talk about our business because to me it's been sacred all my life. I'm a second generation, my son's a third generation wrestler. But I've always been sacred about my business. A lot of things I didn't. This is the last few years I started to open up. And the reason I started to open it up because at my wrestling school, I have to make you understand my business. And it's not in my hurt. Can Karama look good? Because nobody gives a crap. You hear me? And if you watch the match before you, they did it then too. It's just learning how to tell that story. And to do that, that's the reason up here talking, to make you understand that where I'm coming from is telling you things like this. Some of the greatest things it was this avenue right there. When Rick broke my nose in Greenville, he dropped the knee in the back of it. I remember the one we were down in Greenville, South Carolina, where he just came to the ring. I'm wrestling a guy named Tony Zane. He just came to the ring with a suit on, and it started our stuff. But Tommy Dreamer was telling me this earlier, and it's one thing that I was lucky enough to know, and this is what I'm trying to make you understand. In our business, you only meet a few people that understand it and get our business, and you can make it work. I see a lot of guys in a match where they're lost, and it's not that, they just don't have the experience to know how to take care of the match or how to cover something up. You ever watch matches and people start hollering, you effed up, it's because the guys in the ring don't know it. If you didn't let them know, they don't know because they don't know what the heck you're doing in that match. I think professional wrestling is the greatest business in the world. And what I'm sitting here and I'm telling you from my heart, there's nothing besides my family and God that I love more than professional wrestling. I gave all if you have some of the guys that's in the back, I always take my time to try to explain if they ask me something. To make our business better. Right now, our business is at a time where I think it's just hanging in the air, and they're waiting for somebody like me to come in there and take control and turn this world over. Yeah.
That's right. You talk about telling a story in the ring. No one told a story better than Ricky Morton. I'm telling you, when I was a kid watching Ricky Morton, I remember being at the Raleigh County Armory during Smoky Mountain Wrestling, telling my mom, they're going to kill him. Look at him. Look at his face. Like, I'm almost in tears myself because I think Ricky Morton's about to die in the ring in front of me. And that's the kind of storytelling that we got from you. How do you put yourself in the zone like that to tell such a story without even opening your mouth?
Wow, I'm giving all my secrets away.
Well, that's what this is about. This is a house of cake. We're going for secrets.
You know what? It's good. I'm glad you people paid to see here. I'm glad you're here. But when I wrestled, and understand this, I wrestled some of the biggest, toughest guys in the world. And let me tell you, them guys work. I mean, Ole Anderson, and they look at them, but would you like a piece of paper? But when I'm wrestling, instead of me doing something stupid, it's like, if I can make you believe what he just did to me right now, what do you think them people back there are thinking? All right, but doing it the right way. I told the guy the other day, I did the thing like this. I stomped his hands and he did that right there. I said, is that the way you sell that in real life? I mean, okay, now think about last time you slammed your finger in the car door. You didn't do that right there. Whoa! You know, the same thing. If I can make you believe that what I'm doing, or Arn Anderson's is doing, but see, the great part is when Arn Anderson asks me in my line, am I killing you? You see? That's what everybody's lost. It's a different way to say it. You know, I mean, when you kick somebody in the stomach, you don't do a forward flip. If somebody come off of it, if you kick somebody 30 times in the head today, I don't care what that does. What anybody says. See, for me, I can sell one punch better than I can 37. I can sell one kick better than I can 37. That's the art of our wrestling business. And I hope, well, I guess I'm fired.
So, do you watch like modern wrestling now?
I try to. Yeah, I know what's going on. You know what? I watch because I want to know all the boys in the business because I meet them a lot. Believe it or not, I am a little something in this business. And when I meet them, I want to know your name. We have a lot of great athletes. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking them, but they do great. They do some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. But this time, but stop to think, in our time, we did a scaffold match. Can you imagine that 40 years ago, people were like, a scaffold match? Yeah, and I did the same thing. It was crazy. You know, you got to go with the times. And I did. In this wrestling business, that's why I go with the times. I know what they expect and not what they expect. I know how to do something or not know how to do something because I keep updated on it. Besides that, I have my scholar here beside me that really smarts me up a lot.
Who's the brand new NWA? I said we're going to talk about this man's belt here. Junior heavyweight champion.
Do you have anyone that stands out in your mind right now when you're watching the new product? Does anyone stand out to Ricky Morton? Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm talking to you. Is there something that stands out?
No, I'm sorry. I thought he was talking, and you might, would you repeat the question? I don't have my hearing aids in.
Well, we were talking about you watching the new product, and I was curious if anyone stands out to you that's on the new product that gets your attention.
Well, you know, I'm a tag team wrestler. You know, a lot of young bucks, FTR.
I'm going to speak up for a little here too. I think he's a big fan of Adam Page. I think he watches a lot of Adam Page's work too. You guys are familiar with Adam Page? And it's fun when I get the opportunity to sit down and watch TV with him. We watch wrestling and watch the current product. We're also employed by the NWA, so we keep up with everything going on there. And we get the chance to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then we watch Major League Wrestling and AEW and WWE and Impact Wrestling. That's a show that's going on tonight. We're very familiar with all these guys, but yeah, particularly that sticks out to him, and he talks about it often. He said, watch the little things, what he's doing, and it's Adam Page. And I think that's the point he was getting to, is how Adam Page presents himself inside the wrestling ring.
And see, guys, and listen to me. If you take all the little things and put them all together, that's more than one big thing. You see it in our wrestling business. He said earlier, yes, we are employed by NWA. I'm proud to be a part of NWA, and I'm proud to be there because I'm a second generation. He's a third generation. I got to do the same thing in my head to enjoy a business that we love so much. You got any of y'all watch NWA? But keep watching it because there's going to be a lot more changes coming. I'm going to try to make it back 1985 again because I think tag team wrestling should be main event again, and I'm working on that. And plus the junior heavyweights. Now I got to congratulate my son here because as being in our business, and I got to tell you, I let him sign a contract with NWA because he still has 2 more years of college, and I didn't get a chance to get an education. And in our business, guys, I'm telling you, having a college education, that's where you make your big money in our business. And I want you to understand that it ain't always diving out that road. It's being behind the scenes that when you make your money at.
And also, Kerry Morton might be the only wrestler that sings the national anthem wonderfully.
That happens to be, that was a yearly tradition for the longest time. This year at Wrestlecade, I would sing the national anthem before the Super Show. And it's kind of crazy to think about that, before the pandemic. And that was the key. I would sing the national anthem, and then when we took that break and we came back, and I was starting my wrestling career, Ryan asked me, hey, you still want to sing the national anthem tonight? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to wrestle and sing the national anthem. So, but unfortunately, that's not in the state this year. But I really, really appreciate that compliment. I would have loved to sing the national anthem again. But never say never. Never say never.
That's part of anybody in here, and this is one thing I try to tell everybody too, is never be afraid to be afraid. And if you do, don't feel embarrassed. I mean, if it's something you want to do it. And don't care what nobody thinks what you're doing. See, that's what in our wrestling business. A lot of guys have trouble doing interviews because they're worried about somebody thinking what they're saying. No, it didn't go like that. You just get out there. That's why I really appreciated you because I forgot we're somewhere. We need somebody to sing national anthem. I just handed him the mic. He ran out and sang it. Just don't ever be afraid to be afraid.
I want to get back to your question though a little bit about current day wrestlers that he takes a liking to, and I'm already taking a liking to. And someone that also sticks out to me, and you guys have been watching the WWE product, is Sami Zayn, right? Throwing a little Uzi out there. Throwing a little Uzi out there tonight. So Sami Zayn is someone that I happen to take a huge liking to because, and this is kind of crazy, as I grew up in this business, you happen to know a lot of people when you start to meet the writers that write for WWE and that write for, that write the scripts, supposedly that these wrestlers follow by. And so I got curious and I made a phone call. I'm going to exclude names for this podcast. I can't mention names. I'm not going to, but I made a phone call and I was like, how did this Uzi promo idea came up that made Sami Zayn who he is right now, Roman Reigns and the Tribal Chief? And he grabbed me aside and he said, Kerry, that was all on the fly. He's like, we gave Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns a promo, and this is what they're supposed to say, and completely flipped the script. Completely flipped the script. And then just to think something as the word Uzi got over as much as it does in 2022 is simply utterly amazing to think that. So that's someone that he starts to take a liking to is watching his work, but watching what he does inside the ring, the way he carries himself, the way he puts himself in the position that he is. And so big kudos to Sami Zayn out there.
Another thing I wanted to say earlier, so I don't want nobody to think I disrespect. In 1985, 1983, 1984, 1985, and 1986, in my own opinion, that was our time. And I think Robert and I were the greatest tag team ever of that time, along with the either I had a Bobby Eaton shirt on or a pin that we bought all the time. It wasn't that. It's just a change, different era. But boy, did we, the wrestling business has changed overnight. And I'm serious. It went from doing your small little auditoriums to your National Guard armories to your high schools to the Superdome. And I'm serious. That's the way it went. And that's a time, but it took all of us to do that. And I always remember that when you're in a territory, it's not just about me, it's everybody. Is that Amy?
So, well, I gotta get this somewhere too. I know we're on the house.
My Amy.
We have it in red light.
Crazy Steve? That's his wife.
Oh my God. So listen, I know we're on the House of Kayfabe podcast, and this is where you get the juicy questions. This is where the hosts happen to ask those juicy questions, so we have to put that upon ourselves now.
I'm burying myself too.
Well, it's all right. It's all right.
Well,
What is the questions that we're getting to for the House of Kayfabe?
So since you're talking, it's time for you to answer some questions, sir, because you are a little bit different than all the other wrestlers that we see out here. And the reason why is because you have your father with you, and your father is who he is. And my question is that a hindrance or is it a major help? Because I can see how it can be both. Someone could expect things from you that maybe you're not ready to bring. Someone could put you in a position that you don't even deserve to be in because you're his son. How does this work for you?
That's right. It's funny that you asked that because at the end of the day, this is my dad. This is who I grew up around my whole life. So that changed my diapers. So watched me play some ball games, and so I was on a theater stage, and now I'm sharing the wrestling ring with them. So I'm grateful and blessed for this opportunity. But there comes a time in life where you're like, you know what, I've got to go a little on my own to start figuring out who Kerry Morton is, who I am as a man in this professional wrestling business. So when the opportunity came in, just a shadow of a doubt story that I'll mention real quickly. 3 weeks ago, Chalmette, Louisiana, I wrestled Homicide for the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship. And I knew what I was in store for that night. I talked to Dad, and just to be real, if any of you are familiar with the 187, Notorious Homicide, he's the real deal. He's a Brooklyn dude, and simply just a badass. And so when all this rendering came about, we didn't discuss. Nothing happened. Billy Corgan's a creative, and it's kind of a crazy scenario. And in this business, you go about your wrestling matches, you talk, and you prepare. And that wasn't the case. And the case was making you work for something and making you bust your ass to get something. So I got in that ring, and as I prepared and we're in the grill, and he looked at me. He said, "Are you ready to take an ass whooping tonight?" I was like, "That's some really good words of encouragement." He's like, "No, you're absolutely going to get the hell beat out of you out there." I was like, "Well, I really appreciate that." And so just to think for the matter of just, he's my dad, but he's also my business partner. So when it came to that, he said, "Listen, man, you're on your own tonight. So when you go out there, I'm going to go out to the gorilla, and we're going to go out to the stage area, and the lights, and the camera will hit on you, and then after that, you're going to learn what an ass whooping is." And simply enough, that's what it was. I took a hell of an ass whooping. And just to something kind of crazy too. And you know, I'm not trying to give the dirt behind NWA or anything, but I didn't know I was winning that wrestling match. I didn't know that I was going to win the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship when the opportunity came. I was literally at the finish. At the very end of the match, Homicide slaps me right across my face, and I start getting a little dizzy, and he slaps me again. I kind of come back to resemblance, and I look over in the audience, and I see the announcer, Joe Gallo, which is the commentator for the NWA. So I realized I was in an NWA wrestling ring. I was in Chalmette, Louisiana. I seen all these people were looking at me, and I didn't know where I was at. And just a matter of fact that something came about, I actually stunned Homicide. I made him pretty dizzy from what I was aware of, and I think I might have concussed him that night. Just the part of hard-hitting wrestling action and kind of growing into my own shoes. That's what happened that night.
So because it is such a hard business and it is so physically demanding, Papa Morton, when he comes to you and says, I want to be a wrestler, are you excited or are you face palming?
Well, buddy, he came with me ever since he was born. I don't know if you know that. I had a guy one time, he came over to my table with soda stuff and he says, wow, this is amazing. And I said, amazing? He said, yeah. He said, you're signing autographs. You changed the new diaper. Yeah. And then he said, look, I think he took a picture. He said, you're great. He said, you're a true wrestler. But
That was that dirt you were talking about earlier.
you see it, you can tell. You know, I can tell. You guys know a guy named Chase Owens? As the Bullet Club. He's one of my boys. Him and Kerry, and I promise you, Kerry wasn't 9 years old. They had a better match than WWE main event. Yeah, Chase Owens. Seriously, it was really good. But now I'm looking forward for his career because understand, I'm 66 years old. I'm not looking for a job at WWE on main event, but I still love our business, and I still love entertaining for you guys. I mean, tomorrow night you'll see Robert and I with Kerry. And for the first time in our whole life, and I hope you're excited about it as I am, is George South going to be our partner. That's what I'm getting to. It's entertainment. Yeah. See, that's something nobody's seen. And you know, even though I'm 66 years old, you haven't seen that one.
I'm just glad it's the night before he faces Nick Gage.
You know, Sunday, I know they got a big show here, but I think me and Robert were facing the Briscoes. Holy crap.
That would be good money to see that.
I know we're exiting.
So, Kerry, was it a foregone conclusion for you to get in the business?
Absolutely. You know, everything that revolved. And here's one thing too that makes me
It's destiny.
It makes me love professional wrestling is these fans. You guys genuinely make me want to get up in the morning and better myself as a human in the wrestling business because I love it. I see what you guys post on social media. I see what the wrestling fans like and what they want. And that's something I want to be relatable with. You know, that's something I don't think a lot of guys are necessarily WWE. They don't take the time to realize that we couldn't do what we do if it weren't for you guys out there tonight. So thanks first and foremost for you guys supporting this crazy dream of ours of professional wrestling.
And you see this guy right here? How long have I known you for? A long time now. Yes. And when I used to wrestle, and this is what he come every week. All right. So I had to give him something to see every week. See, that's what it takes the whole company to do that. You know, I'm not just here back in our day, and I ain't saying, you know, that I walked barefooted to the show 50 miles. I didn't. You gotta understand that I had to tell a story to make you want to come and see me again next week. I had to tell a story for you to watch that TV show next week. And that's what I want to bring back to NWA. That's what I want to bring back to you crowd, to all you fans here. You know, it's like a soap opera. You're sitting on the end of that seat waiting the next week, and you just don't give you everything in the world. and then on social media, they're not telling you what's happening before it even happened. That's bad for our business, and I want to change all that. I want to bring it back to the way it used to be, because I'm telling you, it was the greatest days in the wrestling business. It was.
So can I tell you a story about watching you? This moment is what solidified me as a wrestling fan. I'm in Charleston, West Virginia, and I don't think it's the Bash, but you are wrestling, Midnight Express, Jim Cornette, ringside, and this involves my dad. And I was actually hanging out with him yesterday at Thanksgiving, and we talked about it. So if you watch the podcast, you know I'm the motor mouth and never shut up. My dad is the exact opposite. He's completely stoic, never says anything. You are wrestling the Midnight Express. Jim Cornette, of course, is doing the dastardly deeds, and he is cheating. You decide to put a stop to it. My dad, who never talks in public, the thought of him coming up here and saying anything in front of public, in front of people, scares the hell out of him. I'm going to keep this as PC as I can. So my father, Steve Classic, as we call him, loses it because he's going to see Jim Cornette talking to your about telling the story and making us as fans feel something. You are going to end the dastardly deeds of one Jim Cornette, and you're chasing him around the ring, and the crowd's going, of course, ape. You know what I mean? My dad, Steve Classic, who never says anything loud, stands up and says, "Kill that MFer!" and me and my brother also have pictures of us dressed like the Rock and Roll Express. My mom would let me bring them, but she wouldn't let me take them out of the album. And at that moment, and I thought about it later, I was like, wow, how powerful is this? My dad never speaks in public, and he just screamed for the death of Jim Cornette because of what you were able to do. I wanted to tell you that story.
Oh, good.
It's funny that so many people have that same situation. I was always Ricky. My brother was always Robert because I had blonde hair. And now I'm bald, but
Do you know, back in 1985, we had the opportunity, we're doing a charity show in Concord, North Carolina. And I am a racing fan, but I didn't know. But I'm wrestling that night, and Dale Earnhardt is our special referee that night. Sure is. And he don't know nothing about wrestling, but one thing he did know, I went back and got dressed, and I come around the corner, he goes, "You're the ones my kids dress up like." Talking about Dale Jr. And I really like that. It really got to me when people do that. And a lot of the memories, I meet people all over the world that come up and just tell you, God, you're Ricky Morton. You made me believe in you and believe in that. And it's just like anything, guys. This is the greatest business in the world. We have some of the greatest minds, and I see Shane Douglas back there in the back. You guys get a chance tomorrow to go meet him, take a picture, sign an autograph, whatever he's going to do, or watch him perform. Because you see, we're the old dinosaurs, and we do it better than anybody. Oh. I'm not out there trying to steal the show. I still, like I told you earlier, I still get paid for doing this, believe it or not. And the guy tells me, "Why don't you sit down and let some of the younger guys do it?" But listen to me, I want to do that. But when you wrestle the independent show and you sit down and you let that younger guy come up, and 8 by 5 people are going to be in the crowd. You see what I'm saying? We still got to draw the people to come in to see them. So don't think that we're being honorary and trying to do things. It's what we love doing. There's another person in here I'd like to sit down and say something to you, because people touch you in your life. And if you get a chance to meet this gentleman today, I met this guy maybe 12 years ago. I did a commercial for him in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And after that, he became one of my greatest friends, and absolutely, this is this guy here, Chad Adams. Chad. Chad Adams, moved to meet here out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. I never seen nobody like him that goes out of his way to help people in my life. And And you gotta know, Chad, you changed my life. You changed me and my wife life together. Thank you very much for that.
We've got one of those. We call him Stephen P. New. I said we've got one of those. His name's Stephen P. New.
If you need a Sue, call Stephen P. New, and that's one that I just used recently. So
Just for the record, I still don't know where the hell he is.
For all we know, there's somebody.
You know,
slip
he's
on
a lot of
Walmart
just
and doing something.
No. That's a lot of things going on Thanksgiving. You know, I've been to a lot of places. You know how that one drink turns into 37.
All right, folks, we're going to turn this out a little bit. Steve Barker's going to go into the crowd. Does anyone have a question for Ricky or Kerry? We're going to take a couple questions from the crowd.
Hey, I have to stand up before I can hear you.
What's your name, sir? Wayne. Go ahead and ask Ricky or Kerry anything you want.
What was your favorite or greatest singles match? Was it the one at the Bash 91 with you and your former partner, Robert Gibson?
I'm sorry, it's echoing.
I was asking.
What's your favorite singles match?
Oh, my favorite single, but it can't be, nobody can compare to Ric Flair, bro.
Woo! Woo!
You know,
Let's take another one. This guy right here.
Yes, to finish that here. I got a PhD. Ric Flair in the wrestling business. He was the best world champion ever, and just being able to get in the ring with him and learn from him.
Hey, Ricky. My question is memories of working with Davey Boy and Tom Billington, the British Bulldogs.
Wow, you know what? I'm glad you said that, buddy. Because if you guys see that, that was, we did a taping for them for Japan. And this happened in Kansas City. That's the only time Robert and I ever wrestled. And we went through a 30-minute draw. What you don't understand is anybody been to Kansas City in the middle of the winter? Yeah, it was 10 below zero, and the snow was so deep you had to climb a tree to use the bathroom. And I'm standing there by the door, and I've got a coat, a hat, gloves, and everything on, because that whole building was not heated. And as soon as they played our music, I threw that coat off and went out there and got in the ring with them. And in our business, if you know me, when you break a sweat, that's when you really start going. 20 minutes in that match, I was just as cold as I was when I was cold as 27 minutes. But I enjoyed working with those guys. You know, what a talent David Boy and all them guys were. I loved working with them.
All right, we got another question back here. What's your name, sir?
My name's Charlie.
Nice to meet you, Charlie. What question do you have?
Not a lot of people talk about this, but do you have any good York Foundation stories?
Oh, that's my favorite. 92 WCW. It was me and that guy watching that.
All right, now, this is another thing that nobody knew, but in our wrestling business, that's when Robert really tore his whole leg out. And he was out. He's out for a year. And I had a choice. Now, I had a choice. They're going to put me on a contract. They're going to team me up with Brad Armstrong and make the brand new Rock and Roll Express. Or I could be the York Foundation with Terry Taylor and just get paid by the week. So which one do you think I chose? You know what? And believe it or not, Terry and I really got over real good as a heel team. We had a great time wrestling each other. Tell you a story about the York Foundation one time. This one they remember Chip the Heartbreaker and Todd Champion. I always called him Todd Green. But Todd had been out and he just came back and he's all blowed up and he's like this right here. And Terry and I are wrestling in the match. And I told Todd, I said, slam me. He slammed me, and I said, Todd, a bit harder, and I go float through this ring. I said, tag Chip in. So he tagged him in, and he hit me so hard that I seen 5 of him. So I took him to the Terry, and I said, duck this punch. And I hit Terry, and serious. Me and Terry had a match for 10 minutes. I stood in the corner and watched because I had a better match with him than I could with Terry than I could these two guys. And when I came back, that Grizzly Smith was the agent. He said, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "You go out there and wrestle them guys." Okay? I mean, I'm not live for the next day, but Terry and I just wrestled each other. We came back as a partner. All right.
Wait, just one quick. How many people actually see the York Foundation and know what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, good. For those of you who didn't bring your hands up, the gimmick was that Terry Runnels, Dustin Rhodes' wife, would put all of the information of the wrestler into a computer, and then that computer would compute exactly how to beat that man. And that's where we got Richard Morton. It was great TV. I was 12.
Yeah, I became Richard Morton. Matter of fact, it was myself, Terry Taylor, Tommy Rich, and Curtis Hughes. With the York Foundation. And what an experience that was. I really loved it. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, first of all, I love you. And then second of all, who was your biggest mentor that you got into the wrestling? Who was your...
My father was. Thank you. My dad was a wrestler too. And, and this is funny, because I was telling you earlier about the territories and the bookers, but my dad always told me, because he was smart, he said, "Listen, tag team wrestling is going to be big one day. And the reason why is because it's the semi-main event. That match has to be good, so the booker or the owner, he has to have another match to go along with you." And I went through a couple of myself and Eddie Gilbert, who was a tag team before I got with Robert. And I have several people tell me before, Ricky Morton, you and Shawn Michaels and Ricky Steamboat are probably the greatest three babyface in the world. But no, if you guys go back in history, we call you look up a guy named Ken Lucas. Ken Lucas taught me how to be a babyface, how to be the fire, how to sell. And I put all that together. And then when it all worked out, everything that my daddy told me came true. Tag team wrestling just blew our business plumb out of the water. The Four Horsemen, the Midnight Express, the Russians, like you said, the British Bulldogs. And even today, look at you got FTR, the Young Bucks. It goes on and on. And it's great.
All right, we're going to take one more question. 2 more questions? Go ahead.
So I just have a question for Kerry. So
Yes.
he's had a lot of great matches so far. I mean, young career. And I just wanted to know, who's somebody in the future that you just love to wrestle and why?
Oh man, that's an awesome question. Recently, one of my friends in the wrestling business, Colby Carino, happened to wrestle his dream opponent, which was Davey Richards at NBA Hard Times, which is awesome to see. Those guys tore it up. But as I kind of grow my career, there's people I treasured. When I grew up and watching wrestling and watching all these guys holding their crap in the wrestling ring, and a couple guys that always stuck out to me were the Hardy Boys. And when people would compare the Hardy Boys to Ricky and Robert, I love the Hardy Boys. So that's someone kind of particular that sticks out to me is I would say Justin Gabriel, which is a weird scenario. Are you guys familiar with NXT Justin Gabriel, right? PJ Black is pretty good right now. I love PJ Black growing up. I love his wrestling gear. I thought he was always elaborate. He had these crazy designs, and he would go out there and do a 450 splash off the top rope. And it was simply, as a little boy, to watch wrestling before, playing with your action figures, and your dad's watching you, and you see this guy on the TV screen, and he's absolutely awesome. I'm like, man, that guy is a dream opponent. So one day, I would love to wrestle Justin Gabriel, PJ Black, in a wrestling ring.
And, before I do leave here, it's a lot of things, and I always done this. I'm 66 years old. I've been in this business all my life. And it seems like the last 10 years, you just don't even understand how many of my friends I lost in this wrestling business. From Wahoo Matt Daniels to everyone, and all of them meant so much to me in my life. And if any of you know me and you ever see me in the dressing room, before I leave, I do this every night. I always tell everybody I love them. because you never know
Right.
what's going to happen tomorrow. And one thing that Robert and I did, and I'm trying to teach my kid this because he does know. See, without the wrestling fans, none of us would have never been nothing. I want to thank you for that, giving us a year, giving your time, coming here every year, seeing us here. It really blows my mind. And I always remember that because you don't ever know. I love the guys and girls of our business. It means so much. It's a special breed. It's a special breed being a wrestling fan. Yeah, buddy, you keep.
I don't have a question, it's more of a comment. I just wanted to thank you, Rock and Roll Express, and I grew up with wrestling in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yes.
And that's when tag team wrestling was tag team wrestling.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
That's when you guys went out there and you beat each other up for infinity, and at the end somebody always got carried out, and that's what I remember as tag team wrestling.
All right, thank you, buddy.
We got one more question over here, and then we're gonna let Ricky go and get ready. But Matt Mullins from the House of Kayfabe, what question do you have for Ricky?
Well, in the House of Kayfabe, I am sort of the music and wrestling historian, and I know that you recorded Boogie Woogie Dance Hall. And
Boogie Woogie Dance Hall, yeah?
And the Boogie Woogie Dance Hall and the rock and roll stuff. So, you know what? I'm a wrestler, I'm not a singer. But you see, that's the part about never be afraid to be afraid. They told me, Ricky Morton, you're going to go sing this song, get behind it. You know what I did? I walked straight to the microphone. Okay? I didn't say I was a singer, but I enjoyed doing it. It's a time in my life that was so much that Robert and I really were professional wrestlers, but Motley Crue didn't have nothing on us.
So was there any crossover of any like rock and roll stars that you got to hang out with and shared some stories?
Well, I know. I got one of my buddies that live right down the road here, Doug Gray from Marshall Tucker. Man, how many remember him? He was in all of our life. I used to party with Motley Crue and Sunset Strip Boulevard. I went back to California and it's horrible. I'm sorry. Anybody from California? It's horrible. I could not believe it. It broke my heart because I was there in those days. That was great. Skid Row, they were good friends of mine and Robert's. Chad Adams and the Radiators, they not Skid. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Ricky Morton and Carburetor. And another big star that's in our business and nobody ever stops to think about this. It's Jimmy Hart and the Gentrix. Yeah. Jimmy Hart used to be an American Bandstand. And they're singing and dancing and the greatest thing in the world. So remember that. I have a lot of friends in this business. I met a lot of friends in music. Matter of fact, I was with Joe Diffie like 2 weeks before he passed away for COVID and the wrist thing. But guys, to all of you, I don't know. It's time to get the hook. It's time for me to go.
Everybody let Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton how much we love them.
Thank you guys.